Okay, this is exciting. So these are both Estwing Fireside Friend 4-pound splitting mauls. They're both the same thing. This one's a special edition that I purchased somewhat recently. This one here I've had at least over a year now, and I absolutely love these things. I don't split wood out of obligation. I don't really burn wood for heat at the moment. If I do split wood, it's for fun. I like to buy different axes and mauls and try them out and sharpen them and do this and do that. I do it at my own pace for my own reasons, just because I enjoy doing it. A lot of people always say, get this or get that, or you need a longer handle, or you need blah blah blah. I don't do it for speed. I don't care. I do it for fun, and part of that is experimenting with different tools. So anyways, these two split better than most of my splitting tools. I mean, I have axes that are long where you have, quite a bit of leverage, and you get a lot of power in your strike with that length. But these things still split better. And I've mentioned this in some videos before, but I think the reason why is not only how incredibly sharp these are. They're not sharp right now. I've dulled them down quite a bit. Not only can these get incredibly sharp, but there's something about the design. It spreads pretty wide right there. It's over probably 1.5 inches. I don't know if it's quite 2 inches, but you got a heck of a wedge right here. And with most axes, especially chopping axes, you're not, it's harder to split when your blade is really thin. So I think just the fact that these things get so wide plays a huge role in that. But I think the second thing is its weight, because two things come into play when you're splitting something, with hand tools. One is speed / power of the person doing it. And then the other part is the weight. Energy and mass collide in that way, where, mass alone can do a lot of work with less energy, if that makes any sense. So some of my, skinnier tools that they're not as heavy, like my Fiskars, I paid good money for that Fiskars, and I hate that thing. It's too light. So I have to swing it really fast and really hard to get that to really do anything, because it's plenty sharp. This splits way better than that. That's the truth and the difference between mass and speed. But anyway, so it's the weight and the shape and the sharpness. Again, with the weight thing, instead of having a wood handle on here and then having a metal head on here, the whole thing is metal. I don't know how much is underneath of this grip, but I know that it's all one piece. At least this part is visible to be one piece, and I'm sure it extends all the way to the end here. And I think that added mass, steel weighs more than wood. Steel is going to add pretty much the best weight to anything by volume. This thing, I guess, is only about 14 inches long. So it's not very big. Not a lot of swinging power there, not a lot of length, but still, just that amount of steel adds to the total weight of this thing. And you know what? I've never weighed these. I don't know if these are supposed to be 4 pounds like total, or if it's just 4 pounds in the head. I don't know. But either way, these things are awesome splitting tools, and I've said this 1,000 times before in some of my older videos, as well as in the comments to some people concerning these, is I always say that I wish Estwing would make one of these. Same design, same everything, just longer, and same head, same maul style head, but instead of 4 pounds or whatever size this is, just make it just a little bit bigger and maintain the steel handle, just a little bit more length, a little bit more weight, and you would have an unstoppable splitting tool. Because these are already amazing. And I looked all over the internet. I've been scouring eBay and Amazon and other places for an all steel splitting maul that's just a little bigger than this, but not necessarily like a 36-inch maul, So anyways, I'm on Amazon the other night. When I saw this, I freaked out. Pretty sure I scared my wife by my reaction. Estwing came out with, I think, pretty much what I just said as far as what I want. And I literally ordered it just the other day, and it's here already. When this showed up, I was so excited. I cannot wait to open this. I hope that it's everything I thought it would be. If it's not, at least I just have another tool. But I'm excited. Get you a better view here. Estwing long Fireside is the descriptive word on there, and that might be the part number. I actually kind of forgot what the name was that they had on Amazon. I saw the picture before I saw the words, and I just instantly freaked out. Man, I gotta get this thing cut. Okay. Awesome. Look at that. Man. Holy smokes. I love Estwing. They make amazing stuff. Black long Fireside is what they call it. So basically exactly what I said earlier. I just wanted it a little bit longer. So what do they call it? Long Fireside. This isn't called short Fireside. It's just called Fireside Friend. Look at that. That's amazing. It's got a crazy end on this thing. And I saw that in the pictures on Amazon. I kind of wondered why they went with this design, I guess, instead of just the flat one, which I don't want to be complaining already, but I do kind of wish that they just had the flat design on there. But whatever, maybe there's a practical reason for that, other than, you know, people thinking it looks cool or whatever. I don't care what these things look like. I just want them to split really good. And, you know, looking really good is always just a plus. Doesn't mean it's necessary. Although everybody does like to have good looking tools. So, I know it doesn't look like a huge difference. It's just a tiny bit bigger. And I'll take that. I accept that, you know. It could have been here, it could have been here, it could have been there, whatever. Just as long as it's a little bit longer than the old Fireside and just a little bit heavier, which I guess I really don't know the weight of this thing. But it's definitely heavier. But obviously it has that all steel handle, like I was saying earlier. Definitely wanted that. This actually has this metal, you know, machined or engraved or whatever you call that, raised lettering here. It says Estwing on it. Whereas this is just flat with a cheap sticker on it. I think all of these are made in the USA. Yep, made in USA, made in USA. This says USA. But I saw two different types of these on Amazon. There's a blue kind that was completely identical to this. Had that pretty blue paint job that I always talk so highly about. I bought this one for no particular reason. I already had a Fireside Friend, but I bought this just because I wanted to have two different ones. And so when I decided which color to order for this unit here, I didn't want to get blue because I already have that, and then technically this color design right here is not the same as this. So I just went with this so I'd have three different tools. But anyway, just crazy. I guess I really didn't even like read anything or take my time like looking anything up on this. I just immediately hit buy it, and 2-day free shipping with Amazon Prime, and man, it showed up fast. Awesome. That's kind of a different, you know, different handle here. It seems a lot skinnier maybe. I don't know. At least it's straighter on each end, where this one's kind of concave or whatever, but just amazing. I think this thing's gonna split really well. As far as sharpness goes, obviously, to some degree, this is sharp, but it's nothing like how sharp this one was the day I got it. Right now, it's not very sharp. This thing was wicked sharp. I mean, extremely. And I don't know if it's because this comes to a finer point, because this one here, the metal's still pretty, you know, pretty thick, not far into it, whereas this literally goes from, you know, extremely tiny to, you know, gradually bigger. This one immediately, you know, spreads out kind of wide. I'd say at least a few millimeters, 2-3 millimeters maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I'm really curious what this thing's gonna do, trying to split with it. And obviously this is a splitting tool. This isn't a chopping axe. It's not for felling trees or anything, obviously. So they know that people use these to chop wood, and it's probably, you know, I guess all my long handled stuff isn't here right now, but here's an old single bit axe that I haven't used for ages. This isn't really a good example, but like my Fiskars, my new steel dual purpose axe that I got, I guarantee you these split better than those. And I'm sure that at some point Estwing, you know, got word from people that these are amazing at splitting wood. I mean, you can go back and watch my videos. I've split some incredible, you know, and it's not just the size of the wood either. I tend to cut down a lot of ash trees because they have a disease here, and they die, and then everybody wants them cut down. And I hate ash. Absolutely hate it. Splits like crap. Even through a 20-ton gas log splitter, there's knots and there's just crap in it. They just suck. Hate splitting ash. But these do a very good job of splitting ash. It's easier for me to split ash with this tool than it is some of my longer ones that are just as sharp. So just goes back to the thing I was talking about earlier about mass. Yeah, I'm sure Estwing got word of that, and you know, I'm sure people like me in one way or another let Estwing know, like, hey, you need to come out with this just a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. You know, I'm not good at guessing weights, but I would bet there's a 2-pound difference at the minimum. That might not seem like much, but you're talking 32 ounces of difference between two different tools. If you swing just as hard with each of them, you're gonna have better results from the one that's heavier. That's how that works. So they listened, and this is what they came up with, and maybe this is an experimental thing. I don't know. If maybe their sales are good and their feedback is good, maybe they'll, you know, continue on with this series, making larger ones. They're already going to hear a lot of flack from people about this weird design. Like I said, I don't know if that's an aesthetic thing, you know, to make it look medieval, or if there really is a science for this, and that's supposed to help you split wood. Because when it comes to friction and how sharp something is, that's a whole other part of the physics spectrum, where certain angles, certain levels of sharpness, you know, whatever, all affects how you split something, or how easy it is to split something, or you know, how difficult it is. But there is a kind of a little, I don't know if you can see that with my camera, but there is a little raised part here that goes out. But maybe, you know, this raised edge is supposed to help split the wood apart. Not to mention it's already, you know, wide at the back part here. You know, I've never even like measured these. So these are about 1 inch and 5/8, maybe 1 inch and 11/16 on that one. I mean, this one's the same thing, 1 inch and 5/8. So obviously on this one it gets wide anyway, but this thing here, this design is just supposed to help split it apart more. So now a big part of me, since I'm here in my garage right now, big part of me wants to sharpen this and then go out to where my wood is stored and hit the ground running with this thing and just split like a crazy man. But for now, I think I'm gonna leave it the way it is, because I want to split this thing straight out of the box, split with this thing straight out of the box, and kind of show how well it splits, you know, with the not sharpened blade, and just see how well it splits with this design. Tell you one thing, that point right there is crazy dangerous. That is sharp. This part's not very sharp at all. This center part, holy smokes, that could do some damage if you accidentally hit yourself with that. Right now, packing up my crap, I'm gonna go test this thing out, and then I'm gonna come back, sharpen it. We'll go right back out there and see if it does any better. I'm just super stoked that they finally did something about this. I can't wait to try it. This thing needs to be sharpened. All right, welcome back a month later after the last clip you just saw. It didn't split very good, and in fact it was actually like hurting my hands because this thing was vibrating so bad. And I don't know if it was because the log was frozen solid or if it's just because this thing is so dull and it needs sharpened so bad. Maybe it was just that, you know, practically like taking a sledgehammer and hitting a piece of wood with it. You know, it's gonna send a shock wave through the handle. But anyway, I need to sharpen this. Obviously, it's not very sharp. Another thing that bothered me about this though is even if it isn't sharp, I'm not sold on the idea of the edge here. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like I said earlier, I don't know if this was an attempt to make this thing look like a medieval weapon or something, so then it was more aesthetically pleasing to people. Like maybe they would buy it because they thought it looked unique or cool or something. I have no idea. Or maybe there really is a scientific reason for this blade design, meaning it splits even better than, you know, the design they used on the Fireside Friend. I don't know. I don't know which one it is, but I don't like it. And actually, you know, just straight out of the box, it's got a really, really, really dangerous sharp point right here. I mean, that is just gnarly how sharp that is. But the rest of the blade, or the edges, I guess, they're not sharpened very good. The angles are weird. It's like they're not evenly sharpened. And it's kind of an abrupt angle. I can't show you with my GoPro. But it goes from like obviously extremely thin at the edge to, you know, maybe between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch within, you know, a couple millimeters. So that's a very violent, you know, increase in width. And what I mean by that is this Fireside Friend, look at it. It goes from being just the same, real thin on the complete edge, and then it gradually gets bigger. Classic wedge design that's worked forever. Works just fine. And then this one, they're kind of doing some new stuff, and yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna sharpen this. I'm gonna use my Work Sharp tool sharpener. I'm gonna sharpen this to the best of my ability. I'm gonna try to feather out the angle on here a little bit. That way the wood can travel farther up the head instead of kind of getting abruptly stopped, because this is just, it's not feathered out enough. It's just too abrupt. So I'm gonna do the best that I can do at putting a better edge on this thing. I'm gonna go test it. If it works fine, maybe I'll just leave it that way and I'll just make sure I sharpen it periodically. Or, and I've been thinking about this for the last month, I may just modify this thing. And what I mean by that is I might just, you know, I would want to take the minimum amount of material off, but cutting a straight line. And I'm sure this is hard steel. I'm sure it's not easy to cut and grind, but I'd like to cut a straight edge on it. Basically what I'm saying is I'd like to craft this head into what the Fireside Friend is, because the Fireside Friend works so much better. And like I've said before on this tool, if they just made one of these that was bigger, same thing, change nothing, it's just longer and heavier, it would be an unstoppable splitting tool. Because I split stuff with this that is completely out of what it's rated for, but surprisingly it splits it really well. Obviously I think it's the weight. The steel handle helps with adding more weight instead of having a really light wood one. The, you know, wedge shape head on here that can get extremely sharp, does an amazing job of splitting. That design just works really well. So if they would have just done that with this, I would have been so much happier with it. Which, whatever, I like a challenge, I like modifying stuff. It's just kind of crappy that they couldn't just do that. So yeah, I'm gonna put an edge on this thing, I'll shut up. Use my little vise here. This vise is literally here just so I can clamp down tools to grind on them or sharpen them. It's like a $25 vise from Harbor Freight. I'm not really worried about marring up this head on here. It's a splitting tool, I don't really care. Now I'm not very good at sharpening stuff, but I'm gonna do my best. Looks like I already have the most aggressive belt on here. Alright, well, I'm not perfect at doing this stuff, but it's definitely got a different edge on it now. It's not like razor sharp or anything. In fact, right now, it's about as sharp as this Fireside friend, and this Fireside friend is technically dull. So, it's not super sharp, but it's enough that it should split better, and I'm actually kind of curious, without making this razor sharp, I'm kind of curious if it splits any better since I reshaped the ridiculous angle that this blade was at. I'm sure you can't see it very well because of my camera, but most of what I just did was actually taking off that edge where the change of angle was. So it went over and then it just completely changed direction and went down. Now, more or less, it's kind of just a gradual curve. But my hopes with that is that since it's more gradual now, it might sink into the wood more than it did before. So, which I'm not a pro on any of this stuff. I just kind of go off of like basic things that I feel like I know when it comes to physics, but I could always be way off. But anyway, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna go try it out. You know what? I'd have to drive out to where all my wood is stored to try this out in the condition it is now. I'm gonna keep going with this edge. Only I'm gonna use my grinder instead, because if I mess it up with my grinder and I end up cutting this anyways, it's not gonna matter. So, why not? Now, if I really cared about this tool, I wouldn't be doing this. If this were something else that had already had a really great edge on it, I would just be using my work sharp. Man, there might be some people cringing right now, but that was much faster than the work sharp. Definitely got it way better than it was. Now I'm going to do the same thing I was talking about earlier, using the work sharp to actually put this fine edge on. I got enough material removed, I think. Maybe I'll do a little bit more. Alright, well, there was a dozen things that I was doing wrong sharpening this, but you know, I got it just good enough with the reshaped edge. I'm gonna give this a try. I have a feeling that it may split a little bit better, but I don't think it's gonna be as effective as the Fireside friend. And I think the only way to achieve that, or to attempt to achieve that, is by cutting this off, cutting this straight and putting a new edge on it similar to that of the Fireside friend, which is something I'm willing to do. So This tool means nothing to me if it doesn't split very good, because if this thing is a difficult splitter, like some of the other tools I have, then it's just not gonna serve me the way I want it to. So I'd rather modify it for, you know, even a slight chance of being like a Fireside friend. I guess I'll load this thing up and head over there and try it out. Not bad.